Everything was ready. The bag packed, the ticket printed, the blue shirt pressed. Kosi had no reason to worry. He was just flying home to attend a funeral. But the night before the flight, his wife saw something. A vision. A warning. She didn't argue. She didn't fight. She just prayed. All night. He didn't listen. He left for the airport. And yet, he never got on that plane. This is the story of a man who nearly died because he trusted logic over faith, and of the woman whose prayer saved his life. Kosi was the kind of man who commanded respect wherever he went. He was tall, elegant, confident. At 47, he had built a solid reputation in Accra's business world. He worked in international trade, negotiated with foreign investors, and handled money like it was nothing. He wore fine suits, spoke fluent English and French, and drove a black SUV with tinted windows. People admired him. His employees feared him. But at home, there was silence. Kosi had long stopped paying attention to spiritual things. He didn't believe in those superstitions, as he called them. He often mocked his wife's prayers and dismissed anything that smelled of the supernatural. Dreams, visions, prophecies. They're for the weak and uneducated, he used to say. But his wife, Ajowa, was different. She was quiet, reserved, but deeply rooted in faith. She didn't argue theology. She didn't need to. Her life was her ministry. She covered her family in prayer every morning, even when no one noticed. On the night before Kosi's flight, something unusual happened. Ajowa had gone to bed early, tired from cooking and tending to the children. But around midnight, she woke up trembling. Her heart was racing. Her hands were cold. She had seen something. In her dream, a plane took off into the sky, then began to shake violently. The lights flickered. The cabin screamed. Then, darkness. Fire. She saw the wreckage scattered in a field of trees. Among the broken seats and twisted metal, a blue fabric caught her eye. It was the exact blue shirt her husband had laid out to wear the next day. She sat on the edge of the bed, eyes wide open, unable to move. She didn't wake him. She didn't panic. Instead, she went to the corner of the room, knelt down, and began to pray. And she didn't stop until morning. At 6:30 a.m., the house woke up slowly. Kosi moved with his usual efficiency. Shower, shave, cologne, shirt, suitcase. As planned, he wore the blue shirt. Ajowa served him a light breakfast, her face calm but her heart racing. She had considered telling him about the dream, but something told her he wouldn't listen. And indeed, as he sipped his tea and glanced at his phone, he barely acknowledged her presence. He was focused on the flight, focused on the meeting after the funeral, focused on what came next. They rode to the airport in silence. The children sat quietly in the back seat, sensing the tension without knowing why. At the terminal, Kosi hugged them quickly. He waved to his wife, then disappeared through the departure gate. Ajowa didn't leave. She sat in the waiting area, and she prayed. Again, inside the departure lounge, Kosi scrolled through emails, reviewing logistics for the funeral and some upcoming deals. Then, suddenly, his phone rang. A colleague from the office sounded anxious. A major client, an international group from Lebanon, had just landed unexpectedly and wanted to finalize a deal. The contract required Kosi's personal signature that morning, or they would walk away. Kosi looked at his watch. The plane was boarding. The business deal was important, but so was family. His mind raced for a moment. Then he stood up, walked to the front desk and asked to reschedule the flight for the next day. He left the terminal and called a driver to return to the office. It was just another efficient decision for him, nothing more. But in heaven's timing, that decision had just saved his life. The next morning, Adjoa was folding clothes when she heard her phone vibrate. It was a breaking news alert. Domestic flight from Accra crashes shortly after takeoff. No survivors confirmed. Emergency response underway. Her hands froze. She checked the time. Then the airline. It was Kosi's flight. The same plane. The same departure time. The same blue shirt crowd boarding a morning flight toward the north. She dropped everything and ran to the living room. Kosi was there, reading documents. Their eyes met. Neither said a word for several minutes. Kosi sat still. He couldn't speak. His mind was spinning. His heart was pounding. He pulled out his original boarding pass, compared it to the one on the news. It matched perfectly. He had been supposed to die. But someone stood between him and that plane. He turned to his wife. She was standing in the doorway, silent. He had mocked her prayers, laughed at her discipline, ignored her silence. But now, he understood. He fell to his knees for the first time in years. He joined her the next time she prayed. And this time, he didn't fake it. Kosi changed. Not instantly, not loudly, but something in him broke. And something deeper was rebuilt. He was no longer the man who dismissed prayer as a woman's duty. He no longer scoffed when someone spoke of dreams. Now, he listened more than he spoke. He watched more than he planned. Each morning, he woke before sunrise, not to check emails, but to kneel, to whisper, to thank. He began to pray before business meetings, before calls, before getting in a car. Not out of fear, but out of honor. He started asking his wife what she sensed in her spirit, valuing the voice he had once silenced. He read scriptures she had bookmarked long ago. He played worship songs she used to listen to alone. He even led family prayer for the first time, haltingly, but with sincerity. It wasn't about religion. It was about respect for the God who had spared him, and for the woman whose knees had carried him through a storm he never saw coming. Her prayers had once seemed invisible. Now, they were his shield.